This podcast contains an English accent that most of our Irish listeners will find offensive. Also, there may be some colourful language that you're going to find less offensive. Now, over to Ryan and Leon. Enjoy the podcast.
So I'm just walking into Beyond the Pale, got me accreditation. I can see that where the storytelling is, it's like a barn. That's where the Seanchoiche stuff is. It's good vibes, like just quite calm, small. I think there's must be 10,000 people here for the whole weekend. Yeah, it's like, it's a barn. That's very cool now. It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. The event isn't till 4:30, so on my left I can see about 50 people all holding hands in a circle, dancing. That's very cool. And then you've got the barn with a few blow-up rabbits. It's one of them vibes, lads, one of them vibes. Yeah, a lot going on here. I wonder where Leon's doing this thing. Maybe I'll go and he's on his way up. Should be fun. The lads at the accreditation said that they went to the Seanchoiche yesterday and it was quite cool, so that'd be an interesting one. Jesus, stage and all. Let's go to the barn and see what the lineup's like. Nothing better than an Irish festival. Different to an English one, which is a bit rougher. There's always good yogi vibes in the Irish ones. Here we go, on the other side of the festival I can see Beyond the Plate, where our very own Leon's going to do a few poems with chef and fellow poet Aine Budds. Let's have a look what time he's on at. I wonder if he's already here. Can't see him anyway. Sunday. That's quite cool. It's called the Bards Banquet, and the setup's it's like a dinner table on a log. Wooden boxes for the audience. I have to say, that's very cool. Love it, absolutely love it. Got the tunes in the background. No sign of Leon. He's probably just waking up, the lazy fuck.
It turns out that Leon actually was awake but was hanging around with some other friends. Sad face. So as he wrapped things up with less interesting people than myself, I grabbed Aine for a quick chin wag and a chat and a poem before her workshop with Leon later that afternoon, so enjoy it.
Here sitting down at Beyond the Pale, and I've grabbed Aine for a little chat. How you getting on?
Good, yeah, we just got here about 20 minutes ago, went to the wrong entrance.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, so there was a minute there where everything was very stressful, but it's all good now.
You're doing a poetry foodie workshop collab,
yeah,
seemingly.
Yeah, with Leon. So I've never actually met Leon in person, so this is going to be...
That's the thing about being in Ireland and being into poems, like poetry and stuff. You feel like you know a billion people and you never met anyone.
Oh, for sure, yeah. And then when you kind of see them out and about at open nights and stuff, you're like, I know you, but I don't know you.
And when I saw you, I was like, I know you, I don't know you.
Yeah.
So you can't be too keen to say hello, because you don't actually know me. It could be anyone. That poem that we shared on the show, Greasy Love. Oh my God. So tell me about poetry and food. Have you always had that eye for poems and your life being turned into art kind of thing?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, I can never really quite pin down the connection between poetry and food, but I'm just obsessed with metaphors through food.
Yeah.
And I'm studying, obviously my master's is in gastronomy, and for my thesis I'm going to be doing this particular branch of literary criticism called gastrocriticism.
Okay,
so it's
cool.
all about looking at the meaning behind the use of food in literature and what that can tell us about a time or place or feeling. So yeah, I suppose being a chef, it can kind of make you fall out of love with food. So
really?
I liked it. Oh, for sure.
That's funny, because I have this romantic view of someone who anyone who works in the kitchen is obviously got an incredibly amazing rock star lifestyle. Oh God, that was quite loud. But I guess for me, I always think of food reflecting times of my life, especially cooking for people. If you're not used to cooking for people, you know, the moments where you do that and you have events like cooking for your parents or cooking for like a party that you're hosting, you'll always remember those days.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's really, I think it's really intimate as well, because you're really putting a part of yourself into what you're doing, and there is something so romantic about it being a craft, I suppose. Like, you're making things with your hands, and then
you're creating.
You're
definitely creating. 100%.
Yeah, for sure.
So Grease Love, we've heard. Have you got something for us? Can you give us another one?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you this one. It's called Compartmental Condiments.
Okay, amazing.
In the furthermost corner of this weary mind, there is a well-stocked larder brimming with feelings and brine, line upon line of sterile glass jars, laden with the intimate cravings of my tempestuous heart. Acidulated and sweetened, I keep them submerged, separate and tamed, to be leisurely observed. I have salted my grief and pickled my joy, bottled their essence so to soften the edges and leave them wholly unspoiled. The aches are less potent, but the taste of sentiments long since past lingers on the rim of every glass. It is the back-breaking endeavour of self-preservation, of handwritten labels that date back decades, and when taking stock of each novel shelf, there comes that scratchy ambivalence of catching up with oneself.
Oh my God.
I don't even know if you could hear all of that.
I did anyway. And what's that called, on you?
Compartmental condiments.
And tell me, like, so are you looking at pickled onion jars and going, that's me?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Absolutely. Well, like, I don't know, I just was thinking about like this idea of kind of like bottling up your emotions. I think that's where it came from, because I was having a conversation and someone was like, oh yeah, you know, I just bottled them up, and I was like, it's kind of like, you know, it's like they're stocked up, you know, they're there to be looked at whenever you want to. So yeah, that was kind of where it came from, and just like this idea of like, I suppose kind of food and nostalgia, because food really transports you back to a memory. So yeah, that was kind of the...
Was you jarred stuff and pickled stuff?
Yeah, for sure. And there's something very like kind of old-timey about that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I really like that.
Thank you.
Well, best of luck at the workshop.
Thanks a million. We'll see how it goes. Improv.
Thanks, yeah.
How are you now? What's the crack? What are you up to? Hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. I know we were having a great time down there. It's amazing what two lads can do with one microphone in a field, isn't it? Lethal. Unreal. We're over at Beyond the Plates. I was doing a workshop there. And the Beyond the Plates stage was run by Ali Dunworth. It was really good setup. There was all kinds of food tastings and different kinds of drinks and all that they were going through. It was deadly. Really, really good. So I was doing... I was taking part with the Bards Banquet, it was called. So it was two poets in conversation with Ali, and obviously myself was there. I was doing a bit of talking, but the other poet was someone we also covered on the podcast before, was Aine Budds. You can see her on Instagram as Flower Buds. So Aine is a professional chef and was obviously very qualified to talk about everything food related. I was just there because I love eating food and talking shy, so that was my part. But yeah, so Aine did two poems and spoke about how kind of poetry is like kind of creating food. You can use it as a vehicle of creative expression. Obviously when you're that talented in both poetry and creating food, you can do both. Me, I'm just trying not to burn toast, but you know what I mean. We play to our strengths. So the workshop was very, very good as well afterwards. We had a little chat first and then we had a workshop afterwards. And the workshop was more of a kind of a little competition, you know, to get people's creative minds going. But it was a 5-word poem. So you had to do, we took 5 words from the audience, the theme being takeaways, obviously food related. So got 5 words from the audience and they had to create a poem using all 5 words, and then we were giving out prizes, spot prizes. So we were giving out like cans. There was 0% Guinness, but not 0.0 Guinness. It was one from Nigeria, made in Lagos. It's the only other brewery in the world that does Guinness. Mad. So, and then we had a copy of Ali's book as well, a compendium of pints. Deadly. So everybody got involved. It was really, really good. So there was people like in their 50s. There was kids there. I didn't ID the kids. Obviously they don't carry ID. They're probably about 7 or something. I don't know. Having a clue. They were all little nippers anyway, but they were getting involved in the poetry. They read out their poems. It was brilliant.
I was curious to read these poems because imagine that being hungover on a Sunday afternoon, turning up to a culinary stage because you can't handle the music of the festival, and you've been told to write some poems. Like, I'd be fuming. But I was excited to see what the audience brought. So here are those poems, and they're absolute bangers.
Tell you, there's not much better ways to spend your Sunday, you know. Except unless you're in mass or something, maybe.
You like that sort of thing?
Yup, mass. It's an absolute scam. It's great because you get to go to festivals. Like for years, I've paid loads to go to festivals, right? Hundreds, willingly, and now you get to go and be part of that festival and contribute and put like a little bit of yourself into the festival, and you get to do it for. They sometimes even pay you to do it. I don't give a rat's. I was paying them to be here. And yet they're paying us to be here, or even just giving like fucking free tickets and just to be part of the celebration. And I love the buzz around. It's just like it's a small enough festival that everyone's just in a really good mood. Things aren't too far. I was doing my poetry workshop, and the Scratch were playing on the main stage. And like luckily enough, I could see the Scratch from where I was. So like I could hear them while I was doing my poetry workshop, and it was incredible. But the best part was there was people of all ages. So there was people there was kids as young as about 8 or 9. And then those people that were like in like they're probably their late 50s, 60s, getting involved, and it was great. It was Beyond the Plates was the stage. It was set up by Ali Dunworth. It was unreal, like it was so good. And like I was with Aine Budds, Flower Buds on Instagram. Yeah. She was doing a few poems about being a chef, talking about food and poetry, how it's together. Yeah. And it was incredible. It was so good, I have some poems that they've collected from the fabulous poets. Basically we did because it was food, we looked for a food theme, so the theme was takeaways. So what we did was we did a little kind of competition. So it was 5 words you got off the audience, 5 random words, and what you had to do was if you got the 5 words in your poem and you read your poem out, you got a prize. So there was cans, there was one of Ali's books was one of the prizes, there was Nigerian Guinness as a prize. Yeah. So there was home, there was filthy, there was batter, there was spice bag, and calorie. They were the 5 words. So I have a wonderful poem by Hannah. Hannah wrote this lovely poem. Home is where the heart is, but my heart is filthy. It's been battered and weighed down by the calories of those who've wronged me. I keep regurgitating patterns like a spice bag with no rennie.
With no rennie? Fucking hell.
I have another one on the spot. I have one by the wonderful Ned. Some fella came up to me. He was too shy to read his poem out, but I read it out for him. He got a round of applause, he got a can and all like that. So his poem was great. Again, they're using the same 5 words, but each poem is slightly different. So I have handing out euros, waiting for the salty, calorific filth. Soakage before they run the gauntlet. Give me a spice bag and a battered sausage. That'll cure the breathalyzer. And fucking right, on a Sunday, people have no brain cells on a Sunday, and yet they managed to find a few in the back pocket, I think, and write a couple of poems. I have my final poem here. This is from the wonderful Joe. Joe wrote me a poem now, so I'm going to see if I can. So it's a night on the town, a day in the bed. What time did I get home? Oh Jesus, me head. I'm lacking in calories, the brain is a mess. Only one thing will sort this. Some filth to this address. Spice bag, burger, pizza or chips. I may get it delivered. I can't move me hips. When that doorbell goes, I'll batter me lips. People just pull these out of our Sally noggin. It was unreal.
Leon, just proving that even on the last day of a festival, you can pull a poem out the bag. I really enjoyed that. Later on that day, almost immediately after actually, I was part of the Seanchoiche 2-hour set of storytelling. And the theme was all about love. Now, if you don't know what Seanchoiche is, started in Dublin by Kieran Gaffney. And it's an evening of open storytellers. that are sharing their experiences, telling poems. All the poems have to have a story though, so like for like context, and it just creates like a really lovely and wonderful environment for storytelling. And that's now gone quite global. Like they then branched out to the rest of the country. Now there are Seanchoiches in New York, Australia, London, so it's gone pretty global. And a big part of that is Daniel Galvin, who is a spoken word artist and poet in his own right, but also usually is the face of the Irish on location events, and he was the host of the event at Beyond the Pale, and he kindly gave me a bit of time at the end of the event after the stories has ended to just have a chat with us about what is going on with the movement of storytellers in Ireland, what he likes about it, where he thinks the interest comes from, and also gives us a lovely poem about AI and his nan. So I hope you really enjoyed that one. Me and Leon really enjoyed listening to him. So this is Daniel Galvin.
So we just wrapped it up, the Sunday session in Seanchoiche, and I'm with Daniel, who's been emceeing the event. How are you, mate?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Yeah, buzzing.
Leon's here as well from your own poetry workshop
in the background.
And I thought that was lovely, honestly.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours of people sharing stories and poems, like incredible, man.
It was wonderful. Yeah, that was the second day, and I guess the first day, yesterday, Saturday, was on the theme of strangers, and came in and really enjoyed that. But at the same time, I had just arrived at the festival.
Yeah.
So I was kind of getting
rushing
a little bit, and a little bit nervous. Now everything went perfectly. And then last night, after the set was over, went out, met a couple of people who had shared stories. Just kind of threw ourselves into the festival, and then coming back today to do the second event before we left just felt like completely different in that we were just like right immersed in the atmosphere of the place. The speakers were like, the standard was sky high. The theme today was love, so we were blessed with a lot of diversity in the kind of love stories that were being told.
We were.
Familial love, we had of course romantic love, but we also had platonic love, friendship, and just a load of different voices and varieties. So no, I couldn't be happier with how it went.
You've loved poetry for a while now. Like this has been something you're passionate about. I just wonder, like, what is it that you get out of poems? Like me and Leon, we fucking love the stuff. We love poetry. We think that like it enriches our lives and it helps us understand stuff. But what is it with your relationship with it, and why do you like it so much?
Good question. Like, I think honestly, it's a lot of things start off with being told you're good at it, right? If I'm being straight up about it, right? If you're there in school, like I just mean, like, I was lucky with a lot of good English teachers who was absolutely shit at, like, I was shit at maths, shit at science, like anything with numbers, even languages I was really poor at. But like, then if a couple of teachers come along and say, hey, you're pretty good at this, writing the stories or whatever, your ears perk up and you're like, okay, you get into it a little bit more. I went on and studied creative writing in college and focused mainly on poetry, and that's when it went from something that I was just fucking around with to something that I just found incredibly useful for processing my experience of life. I would find that, okay, I feel like writing something, so I just put down a mess on the page, any words, any language, any images that come into my mind, and then on, reappraising them, editing, you're able to take all this super messy experience and just smooth it out, give it some structure, and suddenly your own life is revealed to you.
For sure, man.
That it hasn't been before.
I don't think I could have understood the value of poetry before I started to write it, though. And then you go back to the archives of time to see what other similar people were doing to work out their own lives. I think it's when you start writing yourself, you then see the value of this world that's always existed before you were that interested in it.
That's really interesting, because you think it's something like music, right? People get into music because they're listening to tunes on the radio, or they're into bands growing up and things like that, and then eventually they say, hey, let me give that a go. I often find with poets that they start doing it as kids or as teenagers without even knowing what they're writing down. They think, oh, maybe this is poetry, and then they go and explore poets. So it almost happens backwards, where they go explore other people's work after they've kind of got into it a little bit themselves. I think that's
so something's unlocked.
You get a better perspective, I think. I think mostly that, even with like Seanchoiche, you get perspectives of different people's lives, and poetry, I suppose, is just another form of that, really, isn't it? So
Well, we've both done now events in Seanchoiche. What do you think is in this that people are so... Like, because it's a fucking movement, let's be honest. Like, it's the biggest thing. People are turning up just to hear stories, tell stories. What's going on? What's the intangible thing that you think is going on?
It's like group therapy, but not forced. It's like the most authentic group, because you go in and you just feel lighter when you leave.
Yeah.
You definitely
Do you know what I mean?
do.
And you go in and again, it's so positive. And like, I remember we did it in Fumbly Cafe. Like, when I did,
same.
And like 250 people or something in the room, and you can just like feel the
sitting,
love in the room.
engaged, just engaged.
Yeah.
So good. Like,
I'm trying to put my finger on it myself. I'm just standing here listening to you, trying to figure it out myself, you know.
You've got a better idea than we do, maybe.
I don't know. Like, I guess, I mean, I suppose it's different to your usual spoken word night in that we had loads of poetry there, right?
Yeah.
So we had maybe 4 or 5 of the 8 speakers had poetry as part of their thing. But what I really think is useful is that we encourage people, like I'm a poet primarily as well, so we encourage people that if you're doing a poem, give us loads of context. Tell us a little bit about the background of the poem, how you came to write it, where you were at in your life, when you wrote it, and how things have, maybe developed after you wrote the poem. And then once you've got all that context and all that story around the poem, we're so ready to kind of take it on board more fully than in something, for example, like a poetry slam, which I find really challenging because you're going in and it's just a poem. You can't make any other connection with the people. So that's a different skill.
You're told not to.
You're told not to.
You're told not to.
It's a different skill, but I think people, let's be honest, not a lot of people read poetry or listen to poetry, but they want to come and share an experience of storytelling. So, it's nice to create that bridge for them with giving them all that context.
And I'm convinced that more people get things out of this than they do at slams. I always find, like, because you've done slams, I do slams. I never really feel like the audience is getting much out of it other than trying to score it up.
Yeah.
Where these events where people are sitting and engaged, and the amount of people holding hands in the audience there, just listening to the words, that's what you want. And people are now left the festival and they're still holding hands. They're going to be talking about what they've learned. Like, I don't know, do you think people get anything from slams, like the audience experience?
I think some people get, like, poetry gives them the ick when you mention poetry, because they think of like leaving cert poetry, think of like highbrow kind of page poetry. When I think we're like slams are an odd environment because they're competitions. So like you get like it's like a pressure cooker for poetry. Whereas if you're doing like a spoken word night where it's more kind of relaxed and you can give context, as you were saying, and like you can kind of get into the meat and bones of the poem rather than just kind of you're there to say a poem and leave. It's so much nicer. But like I think with Seanchoiche you can just kind of tell your story. There's no rehearsal. It's like just read it a couple of times, but like
Well, people are here to learn about themselves as well, aren't they? So it's better to have the story so people can go, oh, hang on, not just the poem, not the words of the poems, but the story of which that happened before. I can take things from that and kind of match that to what I'm going through.
In a way, the poem can be a distancing thing if it's not set up correctly. In that if you have someone take the mic and look straight into your eyes and just start telling you, speaking to you directly, a personal anecdote or something from their lives, it's just simply is more engaging than a kind of pre-written structured piece. Now, if you set that pre-written structured piece like a poem up correctly with the story, then it's just sitting there ready to really sing and bring the whole thing together. But if you don't do that, it actually has a distancing effect, I feel like, where it doesn't seem to be coming off the cuff or naturally. It's interesting.
Do you have a poem for us?
Yeah.
Can you give us something?
Oh, the other thing, I was going to say is that, I love poetry, right? It's the main thing I love, writing, reading and speaking. But I'm never at a Seanchoiche event, and I do poems when if I tell a story, it's usually a poem. I never say the P word. I say, like, for example, I've got like a piece, or I've got like, I took some notes on something that I'd like to share this with you, or for example, this poem I'm going to...
Poetry on the sly!
You sneak it in, as soon as people hear the P word, they're like, oh, that's shit I had to do in school. So this one now, for example, right, I have a very holy grandmother, okay? And I realise that's very common in this country, But, she texts as well. So, like, she will often text me to let me know that she's praying for me, or that I'm in her prayers and things like that. And even if you're not, like, a believer, necessarily. Just knowing someone is out there in the world putting that energy up into the cosmos or wherever it's going, that you're in someone's prayers is really powerful. And it's obviously, you know, a little bit scary or sad to think that one day I'll stop getting those texts, you know. Now I'm going to pivot now and talk about artificial intelligence for a second, right? So ChatGPT came out a couple of years ago, right? It's going to do everything. It can take our jobs. It can write poems probably better than us in a couple of years, you know. Not really, not
maybe.
Really. But I was thinking, you know what now? Wouldn't it be a lot more useful if there was an artificial intelligence that could pray for us?
Spiritual intelligence.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so anyway, I went away and wrote I think it'd be a good, you know, product idea. So I went away and wrote this letter to Google.
Yeah.
Right? Dear Google, I need an artificial intelligence that prays for me, the way my grandmother used to, day and night from the heart. Build it with a voice cloning function to mimic her cadences, so that when things begin to crumble, I can listen to her, stretch the vowels of the Our Father until they dip like washing on a line, and be assured that someone or something is working overtime to get the saints back on my side. I would pay for premium, download the app, subscribe to daily chatbot generated blessings composed entirely in her abbreviations. Lord be close to you, my angel. Be sure to keep in with the Lord. Along with detailed statements charting all holy petitions offered for my health and happiness each week. I could rest in the knowledge that a stream of holy code ascends in ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros, ones and zeros to the gates of heaven in my name. That a copy of her spirit is contained within a server in the basement of a Nevada data center. Its blinking lights a vigil, its hum 1,000 wordless rosaries sent up all at once.
And Sunday was a great day for us. We did a bit of guerrilla podcasting, myself and Ryan. Ryan got up and did as you might have already mentioned, a Seanchoiche event. Got to do a little poem. And after that, we were lucky enough to find a little nook beside the barn. Now the barn was actually jammed. There were so many people there on the floor and on these little boxes they were all sitting on. But afterwards they started to clear out, and as I said, we went around the side, found a little nook, and we collared one of our favourites, the great Jessie Flood. She was there, great poet from Wexford, and we had a nice lovely chat with her. Had a lovely chat, and then she graced us with one of her fabulous poems. So yeah, it was lovely, very, very nice, I must say, the whole day. And yeah, that's enough of me shy talking. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave you be, and I'm going to leave you with the chat that we had with Jessie Flood. And I hope you enjoy it, because it was lethal. And you'll hear the now humdrum of the festival behind us, but we did our best. We have no roadcaster, we have no portable podcast pod. You know, this podcast is on the road. So anyway, as I said, enough shy talk from myself.
We grabbed Jessie Flood from the audience of Seanchoiche. How are you getting on?
I'm not doing too bad, how are you?
All right, yeah, not too shabby.
Good.
Come off it there, it was quite fun, wasn't it?
You're absolutely brilliant.
Stop.
You owned the stage, you're fantastic.
Like a share from Wolverhampton.
Yeah, all over that shit he was.
But there's something mad about like having this in a festival, isn't it? Like you leave it going, oh, I feel something now. Yeah. Lovely now.
Yeah. But I didn't think I was going to cry as much as I did in there either, like, you know.
You cried?
I did.
Yeah.
The theme of love brings out an awful lot of stuff, like, you know.
True. The story of, was it Dara, who was talking about his sister?
Yeah.
Who had Down syndrome.
It was amazing.
Oh my God, beautiful.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
No, and he was so kind, and everything he said, it was beautiful.
Everyone was really open and kind, actually, weren't they? Yeah. That's what Seanchoiche does, I think. It just gives you that. We just talked to Daniel there, who hosts it, and he was like, it's just something quite unique about the.
You never know what you're going to get with it, but there's always something you can relate to.
Oh, it was a bit mad as well. You perform poetry.
I do.
You're a poetry fan, probation officer as well.
Mm-hmm.
we read a poem of yours on the show a couple of weeks back about the experience of navigating how to deal with people who need to be housed and kind of the revolving door.
Yeah.
Revolving door.
That was the first piece I've ever written. So
Was it?
it's actually kind of funny how I got into the whole thing of spoken word. I went over to Scotland for a competition with work, and I had to perform a piece, and it wasn't spoken word, it was an essay. But I wanted my essay to stand out a little bit, so I was like, right, I'll make something that rhymes at the start. So the revolving door was never written as a spoken word piece on its own. It's part of a bigger piece where I touch on kind of the housing crisis and the reality of what hostels are actually like. I used to work in hostels before I became a probation officer, so I think that kind of aids my work a little bit, that I know how chaotic it is in there and what the reality of it is. So yeah, that's how the kind of spoken word train started. I actually saw Mikey Cullen perform a piece on Instagram or TikTok or whatever it was, and I was kind of like, do you know what, I could do something like that. So he inspired me to write the revolving door piece, and then
he's inspiring. He'll do that.
Yeah. So it's all kind of snowballed from there, and then I started going to Seanchoiche, and I was like, couldn't get fucking tickets, so I was like, right, I'll
the only way you get in is
I'll
to
start
speak.
writing something. Yeah. So that's actually kind of how it started. Is that I wanted to be there, but I couldn't get there, so I was like, right, what's the theme? I'll write something based on that theme, instead of me actually saying, oh, I have a piece on that. I was writing to actually function to the theme. But it was
I have
mad.
a question for you. So like, I'm lucky enough to not get much exposure of the darker side of life in Ireland, right? But I've got a poetic brain, so whatever I'm doing, I kind of think, oh, there's a poem in that, there's a poem in that, there's a poem in that. What's it like having a poetic mind as well as being faced with some pretty dark stuff? Like, what's that like as an experience of being?
It's tough in a way that I see so much potential for creativity in my work, whereas I work for a government agency and it's very black and white, to the point. You know, we have to do our job, and I completely get that. I'm there to do a role and have a function or whatever, but there's so much room for creativity in our work. And
you know, like outside the box thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I know what my job remits are, and I know what I have to do, but I think to connect with people is the thing that I value the most. And we often miss that because we're too busy, and we have deadlines, and we have, you know, rules that we have to abide by. And look, it is tough, but I mean, I'd like to think that the people I meet, I bring myself. I don't bring a professional as such, do you know what I mean? And it's all about building that rapport, and that's why I think, like us as probation officers across the board, we do get through to people, and we can make that difference, but it takes time.
Yeah, you can only do what you can as well.
Yeah, that's it. And like, you have to have a laugh as well, do you know what I mean? And it's all about finding that balance between, you know, we're given a task by the courts, and we have to get the reports in, and I completely follow all of that, and I value all of that, but it's on my team especially, they are living in complete chaos. Do you know what I mean? They are in hostels, they don't have a purpose in life, a lot of them, and you know, it's about for us to kind of give a space where they can come. And some of my lads have written the most amazing poems, and it's like they shock themselves with what they can share, you know. And it's just, for me, it's kind of about planting the seed with a few of them. Like, not everyone will come in and they're into it, you know. You can see with some of them, especially the lads that come in, and the ladies that are really into music and into rap and all that kind of stuff. I kind of tap into it a little bit, you know.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not part of the job description really either. But
But you know what it's like doing that, trying to get people out of.
Rap stands for rhythm and poetry. So they are doing it in a way. It's like rap that they can do it.
Yeah, no, it's cool, and it's a really good outlet for them. It's an unbelievable outlet for me, you know. That's why I think I've started to really love it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What poem are you going to do for us?
I'll do a little one, a little short one. I've actually never shared this one. It's kind of, I don't really.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, but
on the road, beyond the paddock.
It's a silly little one. Like, it's a silly little one. Like, I think
there's nothing trivial about silliness. We were talking about the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, no.
Brevity and levity.
I think a lot of my poems are quite heavy in a way, but I went to Harry Baker that time. I remember I saw you there, but I was kind of like, shit, I'd love to write more happy poems, you know. And it's Yeah, but there's always a kind of hidden message in it as well. You know, it's not all just roses and sunshine either. So yeah, this is about a pear, the fruit, a pear, and I was thinking, I just literally ate a pear one day, and I was like, Jesus, where the fuck does that go? Do you know what I mean? I was like, I literally have nothing left here. Anyway, the pear. Sometimes I eat the core of the pear without realising, and I'm left with just the arse and the stalk. And I find it funny, because it happened without thought. I think when things like this happen, I am at my most content. See, I didn't even focus on where the core went. For the core must have been soft enough, both juicy and sweet, and not even a thought to consider, is this something I should eat? The pleasure is in the flavour, and the pear is now so bare, and I wish all things in life could require as little care as eating that juicy pear.
Amazing, man.
Thank you for that.
Oh, it's a silly one, man.
Thanks, Jessie. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. We had such fun in the sun down in the Garden of Ireland Glendalough in County Wicklow that weekend. A huge thank you to the guys at Seanchoiche and Daniel specifically for allowing me to tell my story of love and do I'm Shagging Someone I Like to probably the largest audience that I've done to so far. So my plan of having that being the most popular modern love poem of our generation keeps going. So thanks, Daniel, and a huge thank you to Ali Dunworth and Aine Budds for inviting Leon to join the Beyond the Plate stage. And if you like that sort of thing, you never know, there might be an electric picnic episode on the cards. We'll both be there. I think we're going to take the mic. So if you are going to be at Electric Picnic this year and you like the poems, you write poems, you'd like to be on the show, drop us a DM, get in touch with us, or email us at thepoachersdeadpodcast@gmail.com. That's going to be fun. So in between us booking to Teddy Swims and Kylie Minogue and Calvin Harris, we will be doing poems and performing. Actually, we're going to both be performing poems at the event, so we'll share what stages we'll be on a bit close to the time, which is the middle of August. Exciting news for next week's episode. Next week's episode is going to be a bit of a special. We've been running a competition with the Poetry Edit for about a month now, and we have finalised the contestants now. A huge thank you to anybody that sent us poems. We got 49 entries in the end, and it was very difficult to whittle it down. But we have whittled it down to 3. So I can reveal the 3 finalists for next week's special episode are Sapphire Allard, Miles Pascal, and Anna Nixon. So next week we're going to share all 3 poems and reveal the winner. A huge thank you to our Patreon subscribers for helping us with the judging, and specifically James Dillon, Finn Brennan, John Horney were really kind enough to give us their thoughts. I think we're all on the same page-ish. But we're so excited to share them with you. So that's going to be next episode, which will be released on the 15th of August in collaboration with the Poetry Edit. And a huge thanks to Fiona over at the Poetry Edit. And then another thank you is we've got prizes for the 3 finalists. So Sinead over at Sinead's Care Packages has put us some lovely packages together, care packages for the 3 finalists. So yeah, thanks for her. She puts up these wonderful, just lovely things to receive, like chocolates and like candles. It's lovely. So thanks, Sinead, for jumping in and helping us with the competition. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much for joining us on this little adventure. Next week is the Poacher's Dead collaboration episode. Hope you enjoy that. So yeah, next time we're on the road, Electric Picnic.